This is the Solo Coach podcast, where it's all about everything you need to build your business solo. Look, building a business alone can feel almost impossible. There's just so much to get done. That's just your doubt talking. I'm Michelle Sarah, and I'm here to talk you through building a one-woman coaching business from the ground up. I'm talking marketing, time-saving systems, AI shortcuts, client attraction, energy, and belief, all to help you find your way, no matter your age, stage, or starting point. Ready? Let's get going. The number one obstacle for professionals acting on a spiritual calling-based business is fear. Your calling is strong. You know in your heart of hearts that coaching, mentoring, or guiding others spiritually, or what our culture has deemed as woo-woo, is what you must do. But showing this side of yourself is terrifying. You're afraid that colleagues will be skeptical, even laugh, and question your credibility. This is a 9-step guide to shift from professional career to spiritual guide, so you can embrace your calling. Even worse than what you fear your colleagues will say, you fear losing the standing that you've spent a lifetime building in your professional career. It's a fear of judgment, and I totally get it. I've been in those shoes and have a few things to share that I know will help you. It's a hard spot to be in, because when you spend so long building a professional career and then that little nudge that's been growing and growing and growing suddenly becomes very loud, and it's, that calling to do maybe more meaningful work. I don't want to say that your career hasn't been meaningful, because it absolutely has. But there's something in you that says, I can't ignore this. I can't turn away from this. I have to do this. And yet, it's so at odds with what most people know you for. And that's where the friction is, right? That's where that fear is, because oftentimes when we do more spiritual work, or let's say if we begin to express this more spiritual aspect of ourselves, whether it's a gift that you have, a certain knowing, knowledge, intuition, whether it's healing, emotional intuitiveness, psychic work, whatever it is, there are many, many, many modalities that we can fill in the blank here with, but it doesn't matter, because all of it is often something that we've kept very private and personal. Very private and personal. And so there's not only the aspect of making it visible, which is really, really tough to do. That brings its own baggage, right? But there's also the aspect of not a lot of people know this side of me. And are there going to be consequences to me putting this out there? So the first thing that I want you to do is recognize that your calling comes because of readiness. If you're in that place where you're like, I have to do this, I have to act on this, I have to begin to share my gifts in this way, then that calling, that really strong calling, it's not here just because. It's here because of readiness. You are ready. Professionals often feel really insecure about publicly stepping onto their spiritual path. I mean, publicly, right? They may have been on their spiritual path for a long time, but it's been very private and personal. You're shifting from logic to feelings, which feels less concrete and more wishy-washy. But it's actually a balancing of the feminine, masculine, and right brain, left brain. It's a normal change when you're conscious and aware and on a path of personal growth, very deep personal growth. And if you're feeling that urge to step into your calling, it means you've reached your readiness point, plain and simple. Many professionals successfully transition to a spiritual coaching or mentoring business, and they don't experience the feared fallout. Instead, they often find unconditional love, acceptance, and respect for their courage. You might even find out that you have colleagues with similar desires. You'd be really surprised at who comes out of the woodwork, so to speak, to get help with your gifts. At the early stages of your calling, it's important to acknowledge your desire for change, Reflect on your professional journey as a stepping stone for something bigger. Ask yourself if the fear is worth turning away from all those who need you in this new role. So, all of these clients that you're going to help through your gifts in some spiritual way, whether that is faith based, it could be universe based, it could be intuition based, it could be uh, a number of things. Like there's a million things that it could be energy work, it could be sound healing, it could be manifesting coaching, right? All of these things, all of those people that you're going to help and who really, really need you. Think of your fear in this way. Like, is it worth turning those people away to not have to face the fear? Most of the time when I ask that question, it's a resounding no, the answer. And as I recently said I think it was in a video on my YouTube channel, Coach Diaries, but I said, not every thought has to be true. And in fact, most thoughts aren't. But even with the fears popping up and the hesitancy, just remind your brain that every thought that pops into your head of what could happen, it doesn't have to be true. And it usually isn't. So, number 2, use your professional background. Your past experiences are invaluable. You've spent a lifetime accumulating them, and chances are they're an intentional part of what has led you to this point. I've worked with attorneys, CEOs, and medical doctors. I've even worked with a trauma and burn surgeon who was following her spiritual calling. They all struggled to let go of the fear of exposing an aspect of their true self that their career had sometimes shadowed. In some cases, had completely shadowed, right? It would not have been okay to let that come through. Viewing this aspect of self as something that needs to be hidden is a mistake. This aspect of your true self is front and center right now because it's grown and evolved. But it has always been there. Your skills, knowledge, and wisdom have combined to bring you to a point where you're ready to acknowledge and act on your calling. That's what I mean by readiness. This calling wouldn't be here and be so strong if it wasn't for readiness. Try to see your professional background as a needed perspective. You had to gain it or have it as part of your foundation, right, in order to be able to do this work now. This can help you see your shift into more spiritual, energetic, and woo-woo work as a natural progression. It's a path. And, it's a progression of your purpose. Here are a few ways to leverage your professional background. 1, note your transferable skills, integrate them into a spiritual guidance approach. 2, reflect on your career achievements. Notice how your past is connected to your present. It's not all about career and skills so much as it is about confidence and inner growth and certainty. How did your career help you create that? 3, create a story that bridges your past to your present and start sharing the story. There is one there, one that you can bridge from your career to your spiritual work. It's really important to start sharing that. So many people will be able to relate. And even if it's not something they have experienced, hearing your story and understanding what has brought you here is how they will connect with you. 3, reframe career change as an evolution. There is nothing permanent except change. I swear that's my daily mantra. Change is the only constant. Sometimes it's a moment to moment mantra, nothing will ever stay the same. It's impossible. Things change and people evolve. It's a gift to get the chance to express a more conscious, meaningful aspect of yourself and your calling. It truly, truly is. The alternative is living without experiencing the highest expression of who you are. Would you want a life of never having expressed this aspect of yourself? I chose to step into my calling, even though it was, and sometimes still is, scary. 4, address fears and doubts. Identify and overcome your fears. You've been gifted with a powerful machine, your brain. However, it can be a little excessive with protection mode, and that can make it really unhelpful at times. It usually happens when you feel stuck, unable to take the next step, or you're struggling to talk about the spiritual stuff openly. So learn how to manage your mind when this happens. Understand how it works so you can leverage it rather than be unconsciously ruled by it. If you don't have a system for moving fears and doubts out of the way, you won't be able to make the impact you're here to make because it will always pop up and derail you. Truth is, we all struggle with fear, doubt, and worry, especially for things like imposter syndrome, fear of failure or judgment, loss of credibility. Acknowledge and address these fears. Learn the skills of mind management so you can grow your new business more quickly. One of the greatest skills you can attain is mind management. Here are a few ways you can handle fears when they pop up. Give your mind some truths that contradict the fear. Here's an example. You may fear that your colleagues will judge you, and yet you can recall that one time when you were having a heart-to-heart conversation with a colleague that you worked with, and you just happened to share a little bit about your gift, and she was all ears. She couldn't get enough. She wanted to hear more, and she absolutely loved it. And it was a surprise. Call on a memory that makes you really, really happy. So if the fear, doubt, and worry pops up, simply recall a memory of something, someone, a time, a point, an instance that makes you really, really happy, and hold that feeling for as long as you can. The fear and the happiness can't exist at the same time. Hold an image of helping humanity with your gifts and feel the gratitude that you receive from all those people. Number 5, create daily practices that support your calling. You may already have some things like this in place. I want you to make sure that if you don't, you do. And if you already have something like this in place, that you're consistent with it. This has to be cultivated and treated as a skill gained, something that you have to practice every day. You found success in your career by gaining skills and practicing, so the same is true for your calling. And while the new skills and practice you take on may be more internal, they are needed all the same. The more you practice, the more confident you become. The more confident you are, the more effectively you can show up for the people who need you. Believe in your potential. Remember, your intention, attention, and expectations shape reality, your reality. Set aside time every day to embody your new role with visualization. Write about all the new clients coming your way. Reflect and process any emotions that make you feel stuck or overwhelmed. 6, tap into your full potential. Developing self-awareness is crucial, and most of us who are on a path that is a special calling, a more spiritual path, or woo-woo, whatever we want to call it, that's a very big umbrella, by the way, we have already developed some level of self-awareness that is not necessarily more than the average person, because there's certainly somebody doesn't have to necessarily be spiritual to have a higher level of self-awareness. But we wouldn't be in this place of I feel this calling, I must go do this, if we didn't have a higher level of self-awareness. But the first step to any great change is, as you probably already know, becoming aware. You must be aware of your surroundings, starting point, and needs. Only then can you begin to consciously create. If you're following a spiritual calling and with it building a business, your business is a conscious creation. It deserves your full potential and abilities. These 4 steps can help you tap into what you're capable of. Identify what's in the way of you becoming more visible in your new spiritual calling. Create a plan for addressing the obstacles and skepticism, if any. Cultivate your intuition and knowing regularly with daily practices, and surround yourself with people who support your new role. Think of this as alchemy. Instead of turning lead into gold, you're transforming professional expertise into spiritual wisdom. The result is abundance for all, for yourself and for all of those people that you are going to help. But just in case, here's some statistics. According to the Pew Research Center, 81% say there is something spiritual beyond the natural world, even if we cannot see it. 81%. 74% say there are some things science cannot possibly explain. 45% say they have had a sudden feeling of connection with something from beyond this world. Clearly, there is a growing awareness and need for spiritual coaching, mentoring, and guidance. It is time. 7. Confidently build your new identity. Many have walked this path before. Others have followed a calling and built a business around coaching, mentoring, or spiritual guidance. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. History shows a long-standing presence of mystics in society, and their role was to remind us of who we are. They help us to maintain our connection to something bigger. People crave meaning, and now more than ever, they seek life and spiritual coaching, energy readings, or wellness practices that connect them to a higher self. The need is real. Realize the impact that your new identity can have in comparison to your profession. So they're both incredibly valuable and they both fulfill a need. One goes wide while the other goes deep. Again, it's simply an evolution. Embrace it. Build your new identity as the foundation of your business. Identify your values and voice. Create a story that bridges your past with the present. Clarify your new audience. Write your message, mission, and meaningful outcomes. Develop your offer. Start talking about it. Establish credibility in your new field. Start with the story that bridges your past to present. Be the voice for those who are not yet at the stage of readiness that you are. Trust that the people who resonate with you will find you. They'll find you and follow you and work with you. 8. Choose a supportive community. Nurture relationships with former colleagues. I've had many conversations with professionals who shifted to spiritual work, and they tell me they were pleasantly surprised when they told everyone. Because they weren't judged in the way that they feared, but they were actually people that they never thought would be interested in their work, were in full support. Colleagues were even interested in working with them. Imagine a vertical scale. It shows your career as the foundation for the evolution of you. Even though it seems completely different and non-relevant, it's relevant to you as a person who needed the foundation to grow from. With each experience of growth, you rise on the scale. From this perspective, you can see how your past career is connected and even enhances your standing. Integrate support systems designed for spiritually minded coaches, mentors, and guides. So, building a business will require work and listening to your inner guidance. It's important to choose support that addresses more than just your business. It should also help you as the whole person that you are. Look for mind management tools, daily practices, and marketing guidance. Pick a community where you can go at your own pace, avoid feeling pressured or intimidated by tech, aggressive tactics, or information overload. When you're really sensitive to the energy of things, that can be a really big challenge, big issue. 9. Balance mind management, manifesting, and marketing. I know that might sound a little odd, but for those of us who are doing this more woo-woo work, energy is everything. Everything is energy. Mind management, manifesting, which is intention, attention, and expectation, and marketing are key. By providing tools for mind management, helping you understand the power of intention, attention, and expectation, and showing you how to take empowered marketing action, your whole being is brought into your business. Your whole being is honored, nurtured, and given wings. This is a holistic success model for business coaching that is rapidly taking hold. Integrate all three for a deeper level of long-term success, and you get to avoid a roller coaster of uncertainties that trends or tactics can bring. I recognize that your calling may feel fragile at first, but with the right support, you can make your leap into meaningful work that helps humanity. Answer your calling because you're needed. Hey, thanks so much for joining me for the Solo Coach podcast. It means so much to me that someone out there is listening. Now, if you know it's time to do something different about your business, and you know if it is, consider joining me for my Happy and Successful Business Mastermind, where you can get clarity, support, and a plan. I'll leave details in the notes below. I also want to share a free resource for you. If you haven't already subscribed to my newsletter, Find Coaching Clients, I encourage you to do so. I'll deliver to your inbox tips and strategies that make finding coaching clients for your business much easier. I'll see you next time.